Good morning, students. This lecture is our last section on simple organisms. We'll be talking about fungi in particular. So, some background information on fungi. They are eukaryotic organisms. They are either unicellular or multicellular. They can be heterotrophic. I want you to think about for a second, what do we mean when we say that they're heterotrophic? Like, what are organisms that are called heterotrophs? That's right. Heterotrophs are organisms that cannot make their own food, so there is no photosynthesis involved with um, fungi. They are also referred to as decomposers. Think about that term for a second. What are decomposers? Okay, so fungi, why do we call them decomposers? Well, fungi, they secrete a digestive chemical that breaks things down and then absorb the nutrients through their root structures. So if you take a look at this image here, these are the mycelia that make up a fungus. Okay, specifically, the structure is called a hyphae. All right. Now, when a fungal spore, comes in contact with a dead organism, it starts to grow, and as it grows, it will grow the mycelia into the surface of the organism, and as it does so, from here, at the ends of these structures, these hyphae, this is where the digestive enzymes or chemicals are released, which then break down the surrounding tissue. And then the broken down materials are then absorbed through the hyphae, which then allows for this structure to grow. And we'll take a look at what this structure is here in just a second. All right, so how are fungi able to reproduce? Well, they do it in two ways, both sexually and asexually. Spores are able to form two types of spores, an asexual spore and a sexual spore. All right. So if you look here, this cap part that we typically associate with mushrooms, that is actually the reproductive structure. Okay. And inside of that are types of hyphae that are able to produce spore structures. Okay. So as you can see, right under here is where the spores form. Okay. And it is from here where the spores are released. With certain fungal species, they reproduce asexually, so they just simply produce the spores, drop the spores, and have babies. Some other fungi species though are able to produce sexually, meaning that they form gametes instead of just simple spores in their spore structures and release those. Fertilization occurs and they produce sexually. I want you to recall though that the asexual reproduction by spores is called sporulation. Okay. Now, other fungi are able to reproduce by budding. What does budding mean again, folks? Good. Right. It basically means that a little baby is coming off of the parent. In this image here, we have a unicellular fungus. Okay, and as you can see, here we've got one bud that is almost fully matured and getting ready to separate from the parent. And here we can see another baby fungus that is growing off of the parent. So now are fungi beneficial, harmful, both, or neither? Well, most fungi are considered beneficial. In fact, there are quite a few species of fungi that are edible, meaning that they can be eaten by other organisms, including humans. There are some fungi that are considered pathogenic. What does pathogenic mean again, folks? Right. It's a disease-causing organism. Okay. So an example of pathogenic fungus that impacts humans on a frequent basis is the genus called Candida. This fungus is actually found in most human tissues. That's right, folks. You are sitting there with a fungus inside of you right now. Now, here's the thing. If that fungus becomes too numerous, like as in they are able to reproduce and their numbers exceed what would normally be found in those tissues, this is what leads to yeast and urinary tract infections. That tells you where this fungus is typically found. Okay, so to end our lecture, we're going to look at a few examples of fungi. Okay, so here in this image you've got the porcini mushroom, and down here you've got the portobello mushroom. Okay, these two species of mushroom are commonly cultivated by humans for consumption. Okay, um, porcini mushrooms and portobello mushrooms are both highly cultivated, typically cultivated in countries like Italy, where they were first developed. Um, both these types of mushrooms are often used in pasta dishes, salads, things of that nature. Now here we've got a species of fungus called a cup fungus, which, as you can see, the cap, instead of it folding downwards, like here we see on the on the porcini or the portobello mushrooms, it actually folds up and creates a cup, and inside is where the spores form. Okay. Then here we have a graphical representation of the fungus Candida, which, as you can see, looks very similar to yeast in that it's just a spherical shape. You can see a few that are budding off in the background. Okay. Now, if you want to see some really weird fungi, there's a link I'm including here to the website Mental Floss, where they list and explain 15 of the world's funkiest fungi. I think you might find that interesting. Okay. All right, folks, that's it for simple organisms. Your next assignment is on Canvas. When you exit out of the lecture, just hit the next button in the lower right corner to access your assignment. All right, folks, you have a good one.